This is going to be a process. So you can't turn around and be upset when the team's not playing well right away, because a new coach takes a long time with national teams.
Welcome into One-on-One. I'm Gino Ganello for Sports Illustrated. Joining me today is U.S. men's national team and LA Galaxy legend Landon Donovan. Landon, thanks so much for taking the time today.
My pleasure, Gino. Thank you.
Well, let's get right into it. We'll talk about your former teams in a second, but right now we're here to talk about the Club World Cup. Your thoughts on the current World Cup setup going into June here?
I think long overdue. The former iteration of this tournament was originally, I think it was 8 teams. They expanded a little bit. It was, in Japan or in the Middle East or Dubai. It was during December. And so even as players, we would kind of pay attention, but it was sort of out of sight, out of mind. Now, I think rightfully so, if you're going to do it right? And FIFA has said, we want to do this the right way in a country that will embrace it. We're the only country, Gino, in my opinion, that could, not the only country that could facilitate this, but where you're going to have fans of every team represented, right? And not because they're traveling here, it's just because the melting pot America is. So that's what makes America unique. And that's why it's the perfect place to have it.
Now, obviously, we mentioned the transition to having this in June after the season, or after a lot of the seasons for the European teams and a lot of teams in the world. How hard is it for the players to finish this and then get right back up to get into a tournament mode here for, some really massive games just right after their season is finished? And do you think that what we've talked about, this congested schedule, do you think that has prepared in the past years players for this moment, whereas in past years before this congested schedule, maybe players were ready to take a break at this time?
It's analogous to when we played in World Cups during my time. When I was playing in MLS, the World Cup came at a perfect time because you were like 8, 10, 12 games in and you were like flying and fresh. And we used that advantage against the European teams who had been coming off the end of a long season. But clubs now throughout the world and players now basically play year round. So do you want to travel to, we used to travel to Australia, New Zealand, Asia in the off season with the Galaxy and play games that were meaningless and meant nothing and, were okay, but they weren't that enjoyable? Or would you say, okay, let's play something that actually mattered? I think 10 years ago, that point carried more weight, but now players are used to playing through the summer, whether it's qualifying, international dates, the Euros, the World Cup, Copa America, Gold Cup. So players are used to it. And on an individual basis, if you really can't go because you've been burning the candle at both ends, then you have that conversation with your club. But I still think it's better for the clubs to have a real tournament and a real competition than just going somewhere and being on vacation, but not really being on vacation because you still have to play and perform.
No, for sure. And you mentioned the MLS teams being in the middle of their season here. Obviously, playing up against these European teams, some of these other teams, that can be a challenge. What kind of challenge does it present these MLS teams, and how feasible is it to see an MLS team, see Liga MX's team advance far here on their home soil?
I think people underestimate how important the home field advantage is. And for MLS teams, it's to a certain level. And what people around the world are going to find out, though, is that Liga MX teams, too, are going to have the same following an MLS team has here. That stadium's going to be packed. There's a huge advantage also playing in the summer, also the travel, that lots of these teams are not accustomed to. Also, what we just talked about, right? The end of the schedule, end of the season for European teams, big European teams, versus MLS, Liga MX's teams being fresher and fit and right in the middle of their season. So I would not be surprised at all to see multiple Mexican League teams or American teams advance out of their group and potentially move further on in the tournament. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see that.
Predictions. In your opinion right now, who do you think, we don't have to give a champion because obviously with the group stage, it gets convoluted in how those things work, but 3 teams with the best shot to win this thing and why?
I think what might happen, Gino, is teams might come, I'm talking the big European teams, because everybody, River Plate or Urawa Red Diamonds or Esperance from Tunisia, like they are going to come here, and this is their World Cup, right? It is going to mean everything. And the big teams are going to come and probably try to tiptoe their way in and work their way into it. And then we're going to see an upset somewhere, right? Someone like maybe Boca Juniors beats Bayern Munich, and people are going to go, whoa, what's going on here? And then everyone of those teams will take it more seriously. If PSG take it seriously, I don't see why they wouldn't make a deep run. Man City, like I said. And then if I were going to say a team outside of the big European teams, I would say a South American team. I could see Boca Juniors, I could see River Plate making a deep, deep run into the tournament because they understand the climate, the travel they're used to. They will have big followings. Botafogo will have a following. All these teams will have big followings, and they can make a deep run.
For sure, for sure. Now let's move on now to your playing days. We'll talk about the Galaxy first. Obviously, you were part of some of the most dominant teams we've seen in MLS history. What was the key to your guys' success in that time?
The key to our teams was, I think, really good leadership. We had very good players, but in every sport, you see very good players on teams that don't succeed. And we had really good leadership all over the field. We had accountability. That lacks a lot in modern sports in general. Players who hold each other accountable. And I think players who care about results, like really care about winning a game.
I want to take some time. Obviously, Goodison Park is closing its doors to the men's side. As we learned, the women's side will continue there. They've closed their doors to the men's side, though, this weekend as we're recording in May. You've played there. What's it like playing in that environment? And what is the Premier League losing with the Everton men's side moving on from that ground next year?
It obviously can't go on forever, right? Because it is an old stadium. I was there a few weeks ago, and it's tough to get around. I mean, it's not in good shape, but it's so special. And for sports fans who love other sports, it is like walking through Fenway or walking through Wrigley or walking through Madison Square Garden. You walk in and you can feel the history. Like you can actually feel it tangibly. So the league's losing one of its iconic stadiums, and I'm sure opposing players will be happy to play in the big, beautiful new stadium because it's less daunting. But it's a place that meant a lot to me, not only as a player, but as a human being. It really helped. It really helped change my view of soccer around the world and also just English people in general, because it was such a special place to be. So I'm sad about it. I know things have to move on and time waits for nobody or nothing, but it's going to be sad.
We'll finish things up today with the U.S. men's national team. Obviously, a year under Mauricio Pochettino. About as we move into September, it'll be about a year. How would you judge the first year under Mauricio Pochettino? And what do you think needs to improve over the next year for this team to compete at a high level in 2026?
It feels like, Gino, everyone's still trying to figure it out. And that's not ideal, right? Because we would ideally have everything buttoned up, ready to go, play the Gold Cup, win the Gold Cup, play some friendlies and be ready. But it's the reality we're in because the decision was made to move on from Greg Berhalter. So the back end of that is that this is going to be a process. So you can't turn around and be upset when the team's not playing well right away, because a new coach takes a long time with national teams. With a club team, it can change in a few months because you're with the players every day. With a national team, you only see them for a few days every few months. So the other part of that is Mauricio Pochettino this is his first time as a national team coach. And that, I would imagine, has to be a learning curve too. So the good news is good players, smart players. I think there are enough players who do really care. Pochettino's an excellent coach. He cares. So I think we're going to get it right. And it's been a challenge the first year at times, for sure. But the hope now is that Mauricio Pochettino has enough information, has seen enough of the players to say, okay, here are the guys that I'm going to go to do it with, and I'm going to stick with them, and let's go. And hopefully quickly now this summer we can get it right so we can have momentum and confidence heading into next summer.
Awesome. Perfect place to end it. Thanks so much, Landon. I really appreciate you taking the time.